In the heart of West Africa, long before roads carved their way through the wild bush, there was a small village cradled between two great hills. It was a place of red earth and golden sunsets, where the scent of roasted maize floated through the air, and the sound of drums could be heard on nights when the moon was full. The people here were farmers and hunters living by the rhythm of the seasons. They rose with the crow of the rooster, and they slept when the fire burned low and the stories were done. But even in such a peaceful place, there were shadows. Shadows that the people did not speak of openly. Among them was the whisper of a woman, a stranger who had come from far away, from a place the elders called Salamanca. It was a name that felt heavy on the tongue, like it belonged to another world entirely. Children were told to behave, or the witch from Salamanca would come for them in the night. And though no one could say exactly where she came from, they all agreed she had been there longer than most could remember. Some swore she had walked into the village one day, dressed in clothes of strange cloth, her hair wrapped in a red scarf. Others said she had stepped out of the forest itself, with the wind at her back and the smell of rain in her wake. And yet, she was not a woman of their tribe. Her skin was dark like theirs, but her eyes carried a light that was not of this world. The first time she appeared in the marketplace, the crowd parted as if a spirit had walked among them. She carried a basket filled with herbs and roots the people had never seen before. When a trader tried to speak to her, she only looked at him with a gaze that made his words turn to ash in his mouth. The women said she spoke to no one but the forest. Men claimed to see her at the river, filling clay pots with water, just before dawn, whispering to it as though it were alive. And then, strange things began to happen. At night, lights could be seen dancing above her hut on the hill, lights of green, blue, and red, as if the stars themselves had descended to visit her. Goats and chickens vanished without a trace, their tracks leading straight to her door and stopping. Once a young hunter returned to the village, pale as death, claiming he had followed her into the woods. But though she walked alone, he heard two voices speaking in the darkness, one deep and growling, the other soft as the rustle of leaves. The people grew uneasy. One morning, a newborn was found at the edge of the forest, healthy and laughing, though no one knew whose child it was. They said the witch had brought it, a gift to a barren woman who had prayed for years. Another time a storm came suddenly, tearing the roof off the chief's hut, but not a single drop of rain fell on the witch's home. The elders began to meet in secret, debating whether she was a blessing or a curse. Some believed she could walk between the worlds of the living and the dead. Others swore She had the power to speak to the spirits that dwelled in the forest. Still, they let her be, for though they feared her, no harm had yet come from her hand. Then, one year, the rains did not come. The sky turned a hard, merciless blue. Day after day, the sun blazed down, until the rivers shrank into thin brown lines, and the earth cracked like an old clay pot. The maize withered, the yam fields turned to dust, and the cattle grew thin and restless. The village was dying. Children no longer played in the shade of the baobab tree. Mothers sat silently, fanning themselves, their eyes sunken with worry. The men returned from the hunt, empty-handed. The elders gathered in the great hut. They argued deep into the night. Some wanted to send word to the next village for help. Others suggested moving entirely. And then an old woman named Afi spoke. "There is one among us who can bring the rain, but you fear her more than death itself." Her words hung in the air like smoke. Everyone knew she spoke of the witch from Salamanca. It was decided. A group of elders, accompanied by the bravest hunters, would climb the hill to her hut. They carried gifts, goats, cowrie shells, and strings of red beads, for no one came to the witch empty-handed. The climb was slow. The wind whispered through the trees as though carrying secrets from the past. When they reached her hut, they found her sitting outside, pounding herbs in a wooden mortar. She did not look surprised to see them. She looked as if she had been waiting. You want the rain," she said in a voice like rustling leaves. "It will come, but it will cost you." They asked her what price she wanted. She smiled faintly. 7 nights, she said. "You will leave me alone by the river. Do not follow me. Do not watch me. Do not speak my name." And so, for 7 nights, she went to the river bank. On the first night, she drew symbols in the mud with a stick, humming a tune that made the trees sway, though there was no wind. On the second night, she placed calabashes of water along the bank, each holding a single floating leaf. On the third night, she burned herbs that sent smoke curling into the sky, carrying a scent both sweet and bitter. By the 4th night, the villagers began to hear strange sounds from the river, like the beating of drums far away, though no one was there. On the 5th night, the dogs refused to leave their huts. On the 6th, the moon turned red, and on the 7th night, the wind rose. Clouds gathered, and before dawn, the first drops of rain fell. It began as a whisper on the leaves, then grew into a roar. Rain poured over the land, soaking the dry earth, filling the rivers, and drenching the village. The people danced in it, laughing, crying, lifting their faces to the sky. When they climbed the hill to thank the witch, her hut was empty. The door swung open. The fire inside was cold, and on the floor lay her staff, carved with symbols no one could read. Some say she turned into a bird and flew away. Others believe she still walks the hills at night, guarding the village until they need her again. And so, the witch from Salamanca remains, part savior, part shadow, a name spoken only in whispers, carried by the wind and remembered in the rain.